Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and this is Varun Tahin. So in the previous session, we discussed about vectors and scalars and how we can represent both with some example illustrations. We also touched based upon how do we do vector scaling along with vector addition. Now continuing our previous session, we will see other operations we can perform on vectors, one of which is dot product. So we shall see performing dot products and its significance in real world, and then we will understand what vector spaces are and see what linear dependent and independent mean in its context. So let's start. Now, as you guys know that vector is a quantity that has both magnitude and direction. Some of the mathematical operations can be performed on vectors such as addition and multiplication. The multiplication of vectors can be done in two ways, that is dot product and cross product. So in this session, we will talk about dot product of two vectors with the help of some examples. Now the definition of dot product can be given in two ways, that is algebraically and geometrically. Algebraically, the dot product is defined as the sum of the products of corresponding entries of two sequence of numbers. And geometrically, it is the product of the vectors, Euclidean magnitudes, and the cosine of the angle between them. Now we will understand Euclidean magnitudes in a bit, but just remember that both these definitions are equivalent when working with Cartesian coordinates. However, the dot product of two vectors is the product of the magnitude of the two vectors and the cosine of the angle between them. Now let's understand the dot product with the help of example. So let's say that we have a vector A which is represented by this vector A1, A2 up to AN, and a vector B of equal length starting from B1 to Bn. So the dot product will be the multiplication of the corresponding elements from A to B. Okay, so A1 into B1 plus A2 into B2 and all the way up to AN into Bn, and this will be a scalar quantity. Now let's say that we have these individual vectors and we have to calculate the dot product. So the dot product becomes 2 into 7 plus 5 into 1. So this will be 14 plus 5, which is 19. Now let's look at some of the rules of the dot product. The first rule is that the dot product of a vector to itself is the magnitude squared of the vector. So we can understand this by deriving it very easily. Okay, let's have a vector A represented by A1, A2 up to AN, and let's define the magnitude as we have seen it previously in our earlier sections, that the magnitude represents the square root of sum of the squares of the individual elements in a vector, and the inner element, that is sum of the squares, can be represented as the dot product of the vector itself. Okay, because when we multiply each of the individual elements, we will get its squares and it will be summed. Okay, so it will be the square root of the dot product of this vector. Now when we do a square of the both sides, that is square of the magnitude A and the square of the square root of A, we will get square of the magnitude A equals to dot product of A. Now the second property is that the dot product of two vectors is commutative, that is A dot B is exactly equal to B dot A, and we can verify this again by deriving it. Okay, let's say A and B are vectors and theta is the angle between A and B, and as we know that dot product of A and B is represented by product of their magnitudes multiply the cos of the angle between them. Okay, so this will be exactly equal to saying magnitude of B into magnitude of A into cos theta, and therefore A dot B is equal to B dot A. The third rule of dot product says that if A dot B is equals to 0, then it can be clearly seen that either B or A is 0 or cos theta is 0, that is theta is equals to pi by 2, that is 90 degree. So it indirectly suggests that either of the vectors is 0 or are perpendicular to each other in this case. We also know that using the scalar product of vectors, where A and B are vectors and P or Q are the representation of scalars, when we do PA into QB, that will be equivalent of saying PB dot QA. Okay, because this is just the scaling of the vectors and then multiplication of them, which can be done either ways. And it is also seen that the dot product follows the distributive law also, that is when A, B and C are vectors, then A dot B plus C is equals to A dot B plus A dot C. Now the property 6 says that in terms of orthogonal coordinates for mutually perpendicular vectors, it is seen that I hat dot I hat is equals to j hat dot j hat, which is equal to k hat dot k hat, and that is 1, where I, j, k hat are the unit vectors. Now the seventh and the last rule is in terms of unit vector, if A is equals to a1 I hat plus a2 j hat plus a3 k hat and b is equals to b1 I hat plus b2 j hat plus b3 k hat, then A dot B will be represented by A1 B1 plus A2 B2 plus A3 B3, which is equal to AB cos theta. Now sometimes guys, you need to know the trigonometric ratios table in order to find the value of cos theta when the theta value is absolute and falls within these degrees. Now as cos theta is one of the components in the dot product, you can directly refer to its values in this table. Now let's solve a question using the things we know already. So as we know, the dot product of A and B is represented by magnitude of A into magnitude of B into cos theta. Now let's say that we have two vectors, A represented by 1 1 and B represented by 1 0, and we have to calculate the value of theta. So how will we do that? Now we can simply say that cos theta is equals to A dot B by magnitude of A into magnitude of B. How we came to this conclusion, guys? We had shifted magnitude of A and magnitude of B to the left side as the denominator of A dot B. Okay. Now as we know that the dot product will become the individual multiplication of these entities summed up. Therefore A dot B will be 1 into 1 plus 1 into 0, and A's magnitude will be square root of the sum of the squares of the individual element. Therefore 1 square plus 1 square multiplied by B's magnitude, which will be 1 square plus 0 square. So this will become 1 by square root of 2 into square root of 1. Therefore 1 by square root 2. Now guys, from the previous table we have seen that the value of 1 by square root 2 comes when theta's value is 45 in the cos theta. Therefore theta becomes 45 degrees. Now performing dot product of two vectors in Python is very easy. It is by using the NumPy library, which we have already seen in the previous sessions, and using arrays functionality in NumPy, we can store the vectors which are represented by A and B here and do an np.dot function on these vectors to get the result. Now you saw that the dot product can be used to compute the angles between the two vectors. So this simple property of the dot product is extensively used in the data science application. Here we will discuss an example application and use the dot product to compare emails with each other. So in general, you would have noticed that your email inbox automatically separates, or at least try to separate, spam emails from the genuine emails. Those are also called as ham emails. So this task is called as spam detection and is popular in the application of machine learning. Spam detection algorithm makes a decision based on the words in an email. So if the email contains phrases such as easy, money, free, hurry up, etc., it is likely to be spam. On the other hand, if it contains words such as meeting, PowerPoint, client, etc., it is probably a genuine or a ham email. We will not build a spam classifier just yet because that's a part of machine learning. Though let's discuss how we can quantify the similarity between the emails. So for simplicity, let's assume that there are only 4 words. Those are particularly the keywords in the email in the vocabulary, such as money, hurry, meeting and PowerPoint. So we are ignoring all the other words in the email apart from these 4. So let's say that we have few hundred emails and we count the number of times each of these 4 words occur in an email. That is, we are counting the frequency of the keywords per email and storing them in a table. So in this table, each row represent an email and each column represent the frequency of the keyword. Now we can represent each email as a vector of 4 dimensions. The first email is the vector 2100, which is represented by A. The second email is 0011, which is represented by B, and likewise. So each element of the vector represents the frequency of a particular word. So if you can imagine a 4-dimensional space with 4 axes, each representing the frequency of a word, then each email will be a vector of this 4D space. Now we can use these usual vector operations on the emails. For example, the angle between the two emails will be small if they are similar to each other. and large otherwise. So we can calculate the dot product between these vectors, and we can see the dot product between the first two emails, that is A and B, is 0, while that between emails 1 and 3 is 3. Now we can say that the angle between the two vectors A and C is theta, and as we know that cos theta is equals to the dot product of A and C divided by the product of magnitude of A and C. Therefore this becomes 3 divided by magnitude of A will be 2 square plus 1 square square root. Okay, that will be 5 square root, and magnitude of C will be 1 square plus 1 square square root, that is square root of 2. Now to calculate theta, we can say that it is the cos inverse of 3 by square root 5 square root 2, right? Now when we calculate it via the calculator, this theta will come up to 18.43 degrees. Thus we can say that the angle between email 1 and 3 is 18.43 degrees. Now it is sometimes very tedious to compute the cos inverse manually. So in that case, you can compute the cos inverse in NumPy using Python using the function np.arccos. It will return an angle in radians, so you can convert it into degrees by multiplying it by 180 by pi. So we have done it for your reference here. We have converted the cos inverse of 3 by square root 5 square root 2. So you can perform the identical functions on your own. Now let's jump on to the next topic, which is vector space. So vector space is a set of multi-dimensional quantities known as vectors together with a set of one-dimensional quantities which are scalars, such that the vectors can be added together and vectors can be multiplied by scalars while preserving the ordinary arithmetic properties, which are associativity, commutativity, distributivity, and so forth. So vector spaces are fundamental to linear algebra and are used extensively. Now let's understand some concepts related to vector spaces. So there can be numerous vectors which can have the basis vectors in it and which can be scaled and added. So they are another representation of vectors in those vector spaces. The span of any two vectors v and w is the set of all their linear combinations represented by av plus pw, where we can let a and b vary over all the real numbers and scale these vectors. Now the linear combination of 3D vectors will become like this equation, where an additional scalar variable is added to the third vector. Now let's understand what do we mean by linear combination of vectors. So we have seen this diagram earlier also, where we are adding two vectors. So the third vector, which is represented by this line, is the combination of these two vectors, and if we fix one of the vectors and vary the second freely, we will get a straight line formed like this, and if both the vectors are allowed to scale, we can possibly reach every point in the 2D plane. Now there are very useful concepts of linear dependency and linear independency. Let's understand this with the help of these diagrams. So if one of the vectors sits on top of another so that we can remove one vector with no change in result, those vectors are called as linearly dependent vector. So you can see in the first diagram that even if we remove v, we will still get the same result, and therefore we can easily remove v because v is overlapping w. But in the second diagram, we can see that the direction of v and w are different, and therefore we cannot remove v in order to get the same result. Therefore, the basis of a vector space is a set of linearly independent vector that span the full space. So that will be all for today, guys. Hope that this session helped you understand the basics behind dot product and vector spaces. We will be covering more operations on vectors in the upcoming videos, along with the more awesome content in mathematics required for data science. So stay tuned. Please don't forget to subscribe my channel and like my content if this seems helpful to you guys. I promise to make more intuitive videos and some untouched topics in mathematics to cover the whole content for you, so that you guys have a one-stop for all data science content. Hope to see you soon in the next session. Until then, thanks, take care, and happy learning.